Hello, everyone. This is Global Government News with Darko, and I will be covering a plethora of articles. I like saying that word. Don't get to say it too often, but we'll be covering a lot of different articles, and I won't be reading most of them. I'll just be covering the titles of the articles because here we go again. We have another political leader, the president of Russia, calling for a new world order. And yet it's all in our heads, doesn't exist. And you have all these mainstream news sources such as Reuters and the UK Mail Online talking about New World Order, New World Financial Order, global governance, and it doesn't exist. And it's just a theory. So I just wanted to cover just a couple of articles here that mention it within the past 6 months to a year. That talks about a new world order, and then I'll give you what Wikipedia says and what I think about the whole thing. But yeah, here you go. It says Medvedev sees a chance for a new world order, and says Moscow is bidding to help lead efforts to build a new world economic order after the old system collapsed in the global financial crisis. So it was a staged financial crisis. I think most of us know that. If you don't, then you can look back and see how groups such as Morgan Stanley profited off of it. How the TARP funds was just a big scam. The bailout they had to threaten martial law for it to be passed in the Congress. And it wasn't $700 billion. It was more like 13 trillion, at least to 20 trillion, according to Bloomberg. And so you just go look at that stuff and see how, just looking back on it, how all the rules were changed. They removed the Glass-Steagall Act, and that just made it easier for, I believe it's investment banks. I'm not a financial planner or anything, but I think it's the investment banks and commercial banks. Basically, it makes it easier for these banks to scam people in bulk, in mass, which is what they did. And then they made it easier and legal to make as many derivatives as they would like. And they knew what was going on, and they even, through the Bilderberg Group and Daniel and Estelin talking about reporting on how they were manipulating oil prices in 2006, I believe it was, to, mess with the housing market and stuff. And so, yeah, it was only a matter of time until people defaulted, and yeah, you can say it was greed. It was driven by greed, but the end game is this. This is the end game, right? It's order out of chaos, or order of the ages, or problem, reaction, solution, whatever little phrase or saying you prefer. That's how these people, this small group of people, very wealthy people, very intelligent people, this is how they accomplish all of their goals, which is getting closer to what they call global governance, or I call global government, and they're going to be unelected, and there's going to be one financial currency, and it's not going to be backed by gold, silver, or anything. It's just going to basically be a nice little crony system that's based off fiat currency and money, basically just digital numbers. And as far as it being backed by anything, well, it's not going to be backed by anything. It's however much they want to print out. And so yeah, you have economic terrorism or financial warfare, and that's exactly what was carried out on the American people, but not just them, the rest of the world. And globalism is another part of their another way to achieve this global governance, or this new economic world financial order. And so they move slowly, and they create wars, such as the banks that are now J.P. Morgan Chase and all them, Bush's granddaddy. You can look in The Rise of the Fourth Reich, written by Jim Marrs, and lays it out how all the Western financiers basically funded Hitler. and they funded the rise of the Nazi war machine. And you have the royalty and British politicians saying, and people up in Denmark saying, yeah, the Nazis aren't that bad. We kind of see eye to eye with them. We just don't want Germany being the focal point of this global government. So they had to stop them. And so yeah, they were. It was definitely planned. And Pearl Harbor with the U.S. possibly intelligence knowing about an imminent attack. And whatnot. We went over to fight socialism. We went over to fight National Socialism, fascism, communism, and that's exactly what we are and what we were at the time that we went over there. We didn't become socialists or fascists. We were fascists when we went into World War II. So coming back to all that, my point is that they create crises. The elites create crises. And out of those crises always comes their solution, which is already decided. They've already made up the solution before the problem even was carried out, because that was their plan and their intentions. So it's very easy when you own most of the wealth, when you hold most of the wealth, most of the resources, when you have most of the politicians and governments bought out, when you create a non-governmental organization such as a UN, and then you have a World Bank, an IMF, UNESCO. When you have all this stuff, it's so easy to push your agenda forward. And so I'm just tired of hearing about how this doesn't exist when we're basically already there. It's just a matter of transferring completely over to this system of modern feudalism and unelected elites. So here we go. This is this article, and this is from June 18th, 2010. The next article, we have this article by Reuters, U.S. to push for a new economic world order at G20, and this is from September of last year. And this is thisismoney.com.uk, and financial website of the year, UK economy must face new world order. This is from February 22nd, 2010. And even over in Persia and Iran, they know what a new world order is. This is from June 7th, 2010. Or you have another Reuters article from September of 2008. China paper urges new currency order after a financial tsunami. Or you can go to this article from businessnewsamericas.com, and it's titled Analysis, Financial Crisis Creating New World Order for Oil. And this was from January 9th, 2009. And lastly, we have moneymorning.com, and this article was posted May 18th, 2010. It's titled Stock Market Strategies for the Post-Financial Crisis, New World Order. But you didn't see that, you didn't hear that, you didn't read it. It doesn't exist because it's all just a theory, folks. It's just a theory. And your masters believe that you are that dumb and stupid, and I guess illogical, irrational to believe that it's just a theory. Because the people with all the wealth and influence and power, well, they believe in this, and they're doing it, and they're calling for it, and they're the movers and shakers. So I don't see how it's really a theory anymore if it's being put into action. But I think I've figured out a way to talk about this without being put into a box, and that is what? I'm not anti-government. Right? I'm just anti-government. I'm not conservative anymore. I don't believe in a government anymore. I'm just promote stateless society or self-government because it's never been tried before, and I'm not religious. So those two control mechanisms aren't going to be used for me or on me because I do know the truth, and I do know that these people do want a new financial economic order. Thank you.